Cheryl?
All right, guys, thank you very much. It's 9 a.m. on the West Coast right now. It's high noon in the financial capital of the world as we wrap a wild week for stocks. 4 days of triple-digit swings. Isn't over yet. Stocks are higher this Friday by triple digits. Word of a ceasefire from Libyan officials easing the minds of investors. But will Gaddafi's troops keep their word? And will the West enforce a no-fly zone? Plus, an international plan to bring Japan's yen down from historic highs announced. But how successful will efforts to stop the nuclear meltdown be? Fox Business is live around the world. Hi, everybody. I'm Cheryl Casoni. Joining me for the hour, James Frischling, co-founder and president of NewOak's Capital, and Fox Business's Ashley Webster.
This is a market that's waiting for something to happen. When oil was up like $1 last night on the reports that the UN was going to start bombing Libya, they were waiting for the bombs to fall. The only bomb that fell so far was that one from the Libyan defense manager. We're back down, but we're not down that far. I still think the upside risks are still very high at this point.
Jim Frischling, how are you feeling about the markets right now?
Well, I'm actually not surprised that we're seeing an uptick today. It was a very volatile week. It was a very bearish week. But again, you had the UN statement, which again I think was, while I would not believe anything coming out of Mr. Gaddafi's mouth, the fact is the UN statement was a necessary part in at least positioning, I guess, a number of countries to at least start to take action. But again, it does sound very violent on the ground still in Libya.
The word stable Middle East, that phrase seems to be unattainable now.
And it's not just in Libya. We've seen some very violent, deadly force today in Yemen. We've also got Saudi Arabia. We have Bahrain. It goes on, and that will weigh on the oil markets.
It certainly will. And, Phil, that's going to keep you very busy. There is skepticism in Japan. There's skepticism in Libya. There's skepticism, Jim, from market participants. I mean, we've had a very volatile week for these markets because of uncertainty. But from the reports we're getting from around the world from our reporters, the uncertainty does not stop.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. The human toll is obviously the number one issue. But from the market side, I'm going to compare what's going on in Japan a little bit right now to the spill in the Gulf and BP. We didn't let BP kind of give information on their own crime scene. We sent other people in TEPCO. I think that's a lot of the one of the issues is who is providing the information and how do you trust it. The other issue is how quickly did the oil situation resolve? Weeks after the BP crisis. I tend to believe this nuclear disaster might be somewhat overplayed in terms of the market, which is why you're starting to see an uptick.
And, Jim, I want to find out just real quick what you're looking at overall. There's been so many things to digest this week.
There really has been.
Your head must be spinning.
It is, but I'll pick two things. Okay. First of all, the actions by the G7 to intervene in support of the yen, I think, is truly, it's unique. It also, I think, highlights just the severity of the situation. And if they don't get this under control, there's a limit to how much even intervention is going to work. So I think people are watching this right now. The yen, the rates have come back down because of the intervention, and now it's a wait-and-see approach.
We're going to talk to Liz McDonald about the yen a little bit later on, but I'm curious if we really are going to see the yen fall like we need it to. I mean, a lot of people are betting against the Japanese currency because they're going to need so much yen to rebuild. Yeah. And that's a story that's 2 years out, correct?
I think so. And the question is, will the dollar be... We've seen the yen come down, but can it hold that level against the dollar? And to Jim's point, that's exactly what the market is. A little wait and see right now.
Let's take it from global to domestic, Jim, because you did have a lot of economic data coming out this week. Initial jobless claims down again. You seem to see little pieces of recovery here. Housing starts were down, but some people see that as a positive. I mean, do you find any positives in the market?
I do. I think despite the truly horrific headwinds, particularly the Middle East, and now obviously in Japan, the fact is the U.S. data and the domestic indications suggest that not only is it supportive of this market, but the fact is I think the U.S. is on a relative basis, a safe haven. And therefore, I do think the market can shrug these things off, which kind of amazes me. But again, they are shrugging these things off. And I think the U.S. monetary policy is going to stand pat, and with that, you could continue to see some uptick.
You mean the Fed's policy?
The Fed policy will stand pat. Sorry, yes, the Fed policy will stand pat.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to, well, what did they say in April? They're going to make, we're going to have serious discussions in April.
Yeah. About what? We don't know.
About inflation, we hope. But
yeah.
They can't leave rates where they are forever.
No.
They're going to have to move them higher at some point. Some are thinking April after this last statement, but...
But we'll see. I mean,
at this point, I'm not playing the guessing game. You know. Anything else, Jim?
I mean, the only other comment I guess I'd share right now is going back to Libya and specifically oil. I mean, Libya accounts for about 2% of the oil supply. So the fact is, if there is a ceasefire, are all of a sudden is Libyan oil going to be in high demand, or is that going to be politically acceptable? So to a certain extent, the situation I see playing out is more like the sanctions that occurred after the first Gulf War against the Saddam Hussein regime. That's probably something we're going to see. So look for other oil-producing countries. Look for OPEC to step in, because I don't think Libyan oil is going to be the really high demand. It's going to be domestic demand, I think, only.
And that's going to be the Brent contract and not the NYMEX contract. Right. So that's really what we're going to have to watch, in your opinion. Okay. Gentlemen, thanks to both of you. And
with 10% of the Japanese ports essentially out of commission and really no indication, I think, of when they come back online, I guess my question is what are you looking for to maybe, I guess, to have a view? What change are you looking for in order to kind of assess how price activity is going to take place with such, again, with so many ports out of commission?
Well, it's really important when talking about seafood to go to specific species. So let's take shrimp, for example. Shrimp has been very high priced, but you have other Asian exporters like Indonesia saying today that they're going to export less shrimp to Japan because they think demand will drop there due to the problems of reconstruction. So where's that shrimp going to go? Some of it's going to come back to the U.S., and that's going to put more supply in the U.S. market.
That's right. I mean, Sun and Fun is always very, very popular. Remember, you're trying to find a destination that creates lots of excitement for your participants so that they're going to be able to go out there and to make the kind of goals and objectives that you set for them. So we see a lot of trips going to Hawaii, the Caribbean, Central South America, places like that.
On the screen, there were a number of obviously very large companies that are leveraging your programs. What's the full kind of, I guess, range of the companies that have incentive programs? Are there smaller companies that are involved with these types of awards?
Yeah, usually what you'll find are companies that have large sales forces. Generally find incentive travel programs to be very, very effective. A lot of times they set very, very high marks and targets for salespeople. It's going to require them to work extra nights, weekends, take away time for families. So usually you'll see incentive programs with companies of any size, but usually the one thing that's consistent is they have large sales forces.
Chris Guy at Merritt's Travel. Chris, thank you very much. An interesting business, and I think we're all ready for a nice beach vacation after the week we've had with the markets. The trade agreements, of course, is what the president's going to be focusing on, even though the president is going to have these other global issues to deal with while he's traveling, and of course he can do that. He's the president. He has a whole plane full of communications equipment. But at the same time, how crucial do you think is this trip as far as the economy of the U.S. for trade? Do you care?
It's really, of all the things that we've been talking about and all the things, I guess, that are the focus, I'm going to put this one in the secondary category. I think it'll be digested, and maybe when things are a little bit, I guess, less volatile in other areas of the world, we can figure out if we came out ahead, behind, or how this materialized. But it's not on the radar screen of the people I'm speaking with.
I'm surprised he's going.
I am as well. Thank you for saying that. I agree with you, Ashley. Rich. It's a New York power play over the Indian Point nuclear power plant that's only 38 miles away from New York City. One of the plant's reactors is on a fault line and very susceptible to an earthquake. Governor Andrew Cuomo wants it shut down.
I understand the power and the benefit. I also understand the risk. And this plant in this proximity to New York City was never a good risk.
But New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg says not so fast. Shutting this plant down will starve NYC of power. And he says until long-term solutions are found for cleaner, safer energy improvements should be made at Indian Point with lessons learned from Japan. Bloomberg says all forms of energy come with a price. So it's about finding a balance. This is basically right outside of our window here. Do you think that the risk reward for a plant, an energy plant, which we do use here in this city for energy, is worth it?
I mean, I guess the issue is not in my backyard. Nobody wants it in their backyard, and yet I do believe that nuclear power is essential. So I would actually, I'm guessing I'm going to lean towards Mayor Bloomberg in terms of let's not politicize this issue so highly right now, given everything that's going on in the world.
Let's leave the lights on here in New York City. Yeah, this is just a thought. From nuclear concerns right here to civil war concerns in Libya. Earlier we asked you, should the U.S. have been more aggressive in helping Libyan rebels? Mark in Colorado Springs says no, we should not act at all. It's not that I don't care. I don't want to pay I don't want pay for a no-fly zone, but if Gaddafi needs to go, blow him up. Other than that, don't get involved. All right, well said. Bill from South Carolina agrees, saying they are now engaged in a classic civil war in which we have no business taking sides. And a third email in agreement. These are the same people that cheered in the street when the British released the terrorists that bombed the plane Pan Am 103. Let England help them. Well, we really enjoy hearing from all of you. Have a great weekend. Send me your thoughts, Cassoni at foxbusiness.com. Of course, James, thank you for spending the hour with me. I really appreciate it. Great to have you here. Lori Rothman.